welcome viewers. Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, fresh in from training and motorcycle riding. We've been for a ride up through the mountains, had a look at some of the bushfire areas. Not real good, but we're alive. We're going to look at the Jehovah Witnesses working together. Now, this is a real strange subject because some Jehovah's Witnesses work really well together. Other Jehovah Witnesses, as you look at this fella's face, don't go too good. We've got a beautiful picture of good friends work together in the ministry, which is very, very manipulative, isn't it? But I'll just keep this playing on the side while I do about a 5-minute introduction before we go into videos on working together as Jehovah Witnesses, and we'll get some Jehovah Witnesses that have actually done it to share with us. According to Proverbs 27:17, what can result when we work alongside fellow believers, as it happened in the case of Jeremiah and Baruch? Remember, Jeremiah didn't have the guts to deliver the letters himself, so he sent his scroll to deliver the letters. And when we work alongside fellow believers and observe firsthand their endearing qualities, what about endearing qualities is one thing. What about the things you don't like? That's another, isn't it? And that's the thing that's bringing the Jehovah Witnesses undone. The backbiting, the slighting of the other, the undermining, the whinging, the whining, the talking about people behind their backs, even though you can try and make it look good and sound good. And we learn from them to draw closer to them. Some people are going to draw closer, some people are going to fall apart, and that's just the way it is. Proverbs 17:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens his friend. In some cases, yes. In other cases, there's just people that it wouldn't matter if you took to them with a millstone and tried to sharpen them up. It wouldn't make any difference. For example, how do you feel when you're in the ministry and you hear your friend boldly defend his faith or speak with heartfelt conviction about Jehovah and his purposes? Well, that don't happen anymore. You just don't see that with the Jehovah Witnesses anymore. They just don't do it. They run off. Look, this lady's saying, I don't want to talk to you. I've got nothing I have to say to you. And it goes on and on and on. But what I'll do, we'll read this next one. I'm going to put some videos up about Jehovah's Witnesses working together. And then we're going to look, for example, how do you feel when you hear your friend boldly defend his faith or speak the heartfelt conviction about Jehovah and his purposes? I haven't heard or seen one Jehovah Witness at a cart do that whatsoever. Not one. Not one in the slightest. So I'll hand you over. We'll look at some videos and then we'll go from there. Thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Enjoy.
It's kind of funny, since making these videos, of course everybody knows about the standard stereotypes about Jehovah Witnesses. But then there's an underlying sort of subculture of Jehovah Witness habits that is sort of like a stereotype of their culture or way of life. An example of that is if you go to the district conventions or regional conventions, I forgot what they call it now, and this is dating back almost 20 years when I first went to my first sort of convention as a spectator, just accompanying my wife. When I didn't know any better, and to a certain extent, I still don't know any better these days. But I did notice in one of these red flags of their preaching or message that they're trying to convey to their flock is, and it's always one of these 3 or 4 sort of main messages they try to portray to their flock is, do not have association with worldly people or people not of their faith. And there would be other sort of unwritten rules that you should follow that we endorse, or that the Jehovah Watchtower organization endorses. And one of them is, which is, I think, is contradictory of or counterproductive to their cause, is to have their members not have better employment opportunities. The organization pretty much wants their rank and file members to have their whole lives dedicated to the bidding of the Watchtower organization, and having a regular job or career or something to better their lifestyle, the rank and file lifestyle, is a deterrent or roadblock to the organization's desire to have them occupy their time with Watchtower activities. They heavily give the message of not to take higher employment opportunities, to live modestly, to have a simple lifestyle, and to just do barely enough to get by, so you can devote all your time to the Watchtower organization and activities such as the preaching work, as they call it, which is pretty much just selling their magazines to households around the world to acquire more membership. This story has to do with such an encounter with myself, or non-encounter with a Watchtower member, or rank and file parishioner. And like I said, every little stereotype that you think about Jehovah's Witnesses, it pops up in my lifestyle, or it pops up in my life. And in this case, my in-laws, they approached me to see if I could help give one of their fellow parishioners or brother a job opportunity with the outfit that I work for. I'm not mean or standoffish or, how would I say, combative against the rank and file Jehovah's Witness. I'm nice to them. I talk to them. I try to talk to them, even though it's as small talk as possible, because they will use my words to get an angle on how to sell their brand of religion to me, and, talk about religion, try to reason with me and this and that. But I think at this point they know that it doesn't work, so they drop their guard as far as that standpoint, and try to talk to me as a regular person. But my guard is still up on that particular scenario. My in-laws, they approached me about this one person that it's in the same field of work as I am, and perhaps he's looking for a better opportunity, maybe, I don't know. So let's say this particular job classification is basket weaving, and I'm a master basket weaver, and one of these days or months down the road, there's going to be an opening in my job location. Yeah, my in-laws approached me, and they gave me his email, and the email was to the outfit that he works for now, and I'm familiar with this particular basket weaving company. For argument's sake, let's just call it a basket weaving industry, and I'm familiar with it. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if he's with this organization, the basket weaving company, then he knows what I do and is more than qualified to work for our basket weaving company. He's got the experience. He's an older gentleman, middle age maybe, and he looks like a hard worker with a nice little family, a wife and 2 kids, I think. And I've seen him around before, and no problem. He lives in the area that's close to the work location, and it's pretty much almost perfect for him to transition himself right into our basket weaving company. Our basket weaving company would certainly pay a little bit more than where he's from, have better hours, better benefits as far as medical insurance, and is in one of the few places in the United States that you could actually have a pension. Job security would be almost recession-proof or recession-resistant. So it would take a big jolt to the American economy or the economy in general for him or us to lose our jobs. We'll be one of the last ones. And it goes to that point, then all hell's breaking loose, or the Armageddon is upon us, let's say. But that is the scenario that he'll be walking into if he decides to work with us. So I'm like, great, here's my contact information, give it to him, and I have his, and I wrote him an email with all the pertinent information of what he needs to do and what it entails, and he'll be working directly for me as his superior. So for a JW in his position, this could be the best gig ever, because even though in these videos I'm very outspoken against the Watchtower organization, I do claim that I do like the people. For the most part, they're just families wanting to do what's best for their family and perhaps anybody else that cares to listen to them. So a few weeks go by and I didn't hear anything. No return emails, no phone calls. I didn't make any effort to make any contact at that point because it's not up to me. And like I said, it doesn't matter who it is that would apply for this position. I would help anybody that put forth the effort to, have a better employment or be employed in our basket weaving enterprise. So I'm not going to deny anybody, even though, like I said, I may be outspoken against the Jehovah Witness organization. I'm not going to use that sort of, I wouldn't say discrimination, but that adversity to that organization against a rank and file member wanting to improve their work situation for a better employment. I'm not going to deny anybody, even though you're a Jehovah Witness member. And this person that I'm talking about, their whole family is deep infused JW indoctrinated. It would annoy me because I'm sure he's going to have to preach to me while in the work environment, but I have my ways of shutting that down and politely. And these days, with all the videos of the ex-JW community, I'm getting a good insight to their psyche as to how to talk to them without offending them. So I can have that sort of conversation with them subtly to get them to think about, what they're a part of. Weeks go by, I get no contact. So about a month or two later, around my area, the JW congregation here, like 2 or 3 of them, they get together and have like this huge kids party during the day at this person's sort of big property. And all the kids are invited, is dedicated to the kids. It's a barbecue, picnic type deal with all sorts of kid games, and it's pretty nice, I would say. And yeah, even though it's JWs, it's still good enough for the kids, I would say. It's fun. And even though it's during the middle of the week, I actually take that day off so I could be in this picnic too with my wife, my kids, and all the other kids of their group. So not many men are there because they're working, and there's maybe a handful. I recognized the wife of this person that my in-laws referred me to see if I could extend a job opportunity to him. So I approach her and I tell her who I am, because I don't think she knows who I am, and I say and I ask him about his husband. Hey, is he still interested in working for our company? And I gave her my card. And I tell her a little bit more about it, not too much, just a regular, the basics. And she's looking at me and with this weird sort of why are you talking to me sort of face, I would put it, but just to amuse me maybe, or I don't know. It was weird, to say the least. But she asked me, well, is this job part-time so her husband could do more ministry activities? And I was like, at first I was taken aback a little bit, and it's like, in my head I was like, no. But I politely told her, no, this is a 9-to-5 job, full-time job, and they're not going to make those, accommodations for him. They would look somewhere else for somebody that would work full-time. And mind you, this job, it would be sort of better hours than the outfit he's working with now. And it'll be a little bit closer to where he lives at, so that's more time in commuting, or less time commuting, so that he could spend more time with his family or whatever when he, drives home. The advantage is jumping ship to work for our company or basket weaving company is it would actually be beneficial to his ministry sort of endeavors, with more time to do it with, a little bit more money, so you have less pressure of general life like bills and whatnot. He would actually have an added benefit of having a direct sort of supervisor or me as a leader to understand his predicament working or being in the Jehovah Witness as far as taking time off to go to the conventions. And that's like one of the biggest sort of like, prosecution sort of subjects that they put in these dramas in the conventions, saying that the employee will give the employer the ultimatum of, if you don't let me go to my yearly conventions, then I'm going to have to go anyway and just suffer the consequences afterwards, whether lose my job or get reprimanded in some way. I, on the other hand, will know that particular sort of predicament that person will be. I will be more sympathetic to that scenario and actually go out of my way for him to, have his cake and eat it too. Say, sure, take those 3 days off or whatever to go to your convention, because it is a big Super Bowl thing for them. Is their reaffirming and or battery charge for them to, in their endeavors as JWs. But, even though, like I said, I'm opposed to their activities, I'm not going to deny anybody their their perceived religious freedoms, even though, well, you know what I think. In other words, they would have a sympathetic, person that would go out of his way to let them have their cake and eat it too. Both work and, do their ministry work, and all that. They lost that opportunity. I gave her my card, and that was the end of it. And I never heard again from these people directly, or none at all. So, I let it go. No big deal. I moved on. That always was in the back of my mind of how strange that is. I mean, that person still works for that outfit that he works with, and the opportunity came and went for this person to, come work for me. I don't know. I just don't understand it. Well, with the Watchtower organization, there is no point in trying to understand it, because it just goes against, normal conventions. I mean, I tell my wife this all the time, is like, why can't you have your cake and eat it too? You have time to do all these activities and then some. Have an education, have a better employment opportunity. With education, you can have better employment, work less for more money, and, in turn, the sub-economic of that would be more money for the Watchtower organization's coffers, actually, because then they will have more to donate with. But I guess they're happy having their, parishioners be barely economically functional, but enslaved in the activities that, they have them do out there in the field, in field service or whatnot, which church activities or Watchtower activities. That was, I would say, maybe a good 5-6 years ago. So I didn't know as much as I know now, as far as the Watchtower psyche, behind the scenes. This week, we had a get-together with my in-laws here, And in preparation for this video, to get somewhat of an update of what that missed opportunity for this other brother, in parentheses, has done, I asked him, hey, whatever happened to so-and-so? We had an opportunity for him to come over, and he would have a seamless transition, really, and he would have been working for me directly in a better situation. And my in-laws, they're infamous for making excuses for everyone, including themselves. And they're a piece of work. I think they practice and perfected the art of, I think they call it theocratic warfare or spiritual warfare on behalf of the Watchtower organization. And I think they straight out lied to me about their answers, their politically Watchtower correct answers to me. The excuses they claim was, I don't know. I mean, it could have been a language barrier because the person, his English is not his first language, and even though he's married to an American wife with two American-born children, basket weaving as an industry, as an example, is somewhat of a universal skill set. You could take basket weaving and do that in Russia, Laos, or southern India. Anywhere in the world you could. That job description is transferable to anywhere in the world. So English wouldn't have been a problem. Like mathematics. Mathematics is universal worldwide. He would have fit in perfectly, actually. Not dealing with people, so there is no customer sort of support or interaction. I do most of that. So with him, it would have been just straight on working on baskets, weaving them. So that was, for lack of a better term, crock of shit. But there you have it. I mean, you can't really explain the JW psyche rationally, because it just doesn't exist. It goes against human. The Watchtower indoctrination runs deep, and it's just really sad. And this is just one example out of many how the Watchtower organization just interferes with everyday people's lives in every aspect of just, everyday living. Job opportunities, educational opportunities, and understandably, not everyone could be a rocket scientist. Not everybody could handle college, and that's true with worldly people. I mean, that's just a snapshot of society right there, and the Jehovah Witness organization is not immune to that. And I see that, but it's unnecessarily exasperated with the JW organization. Another guy that's in the organization, really nice guy, and he's really outgoing, and he actually talks to me in sort of in a human level, that actually a whole bunch of them do talk to me in a personal way. It's not always on the JW guard all the time, but this person, he wanted to be let's say a lawyer, and he's really good at it. But Watchtower policies and politics prevented him from being a lawyer. I'm just using that as an example. And I see him all the time, and I could tell that opportunity was there. He was working as a lawyer for a little bit, but got out of it for a much less paying job with no benefits, or very minimal benefits. He's got a beautiful little family of 2 kids and a wife, even though the wife creeps me out. But anyway, that's another story. But that is another example of I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it anymore. I can't find words to put this all. Each case is different. But what is common to all these scenarios that I've mentioned in my videos from video number 1 till now. And mind you, all these stories are true. These are events and facts that I've observed firsthand from an outsider's perspective. And having, live within their culture and having a more in-depth understanding of their psyche from the ex-JW community videos of, this fellowship personnel that got out of the organization and give their story of what they've gone through. And it's an eye-opener, and it's really sad that every facet of a person's life in the JW community is controlled by the organization. There is nothing left that does not have a direct sort of correlation with the Watchtower organization of how they want you to live your life by. You want to have a better job? No, you can't. Well, you could, but it's like the mob. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse, pretty much. That pretty much sums up the Watchtower organization and their policies, their unwritten rules and mind control techniques is, yes, you can leave our organization, but on your way out, you're going to have to leave your family and your social network behind. But yeah, by all means, go ahead and leave. Like I said, it's an offer you cannot refuse. I'm running out of ideas here, so I'm going to stop the video here. And yet another example of the Watchtower letdown and disappointment that they minister to their rank and file on a daily basis. And I see this every day with my wife. There's not a time, a milestone in her life that wasn't met with JW policies blocking her endeavors in one way or another.